same reason that Pope Francis is trying to get everybody to come, to make their faith come alive. But this is not only in Slovakia. This is all over Europe. This is the reality in Europe today. Malta is predominantly a Catholic country, but 80% of the Catholics go for Mass once a month. France, 10% of the Catholics go for Mass once a month. 10% of the Catholics. Czech, 10% of the Catholics go for Mass once a month. Italy, 45% of the Catholics go for Mass once a month. Spain, 25% of the Catholics go for Mass once a month. We're not even talking about those who are genuine disciples. This is reality today. So now we need to go back to that word disciple. What is this? What is Jesus looking for? Jesus is not looking for followers. He's looking for disciples. Multitudes followed Jesus, but he's looking for disciples. Disciples, the key word for disciple, mathetes, which means an apprentice. So think of Luke Skywalker and Yoda. You understand? And then now think of Rey and Luke Skywalker. He's a disciple. He learns the ways of the master. He learns the ways of the master. He emulates the master. He talks like the master. He walks like the master. He's exactly a copy of the master. But unfortunately, many Catholics today have no clue because they're not disciples. There was once a story told about an Indian guru that sat under a tree. An Indian guru sat under a tree and he was teaching his disciples. And 10 disciples sat around him and he was teaching. The guru was teaching and the disciples were listening intently to the teachings of the guru. They were very obedient students of the guru. And then suddenly a cat came in the middle of the teaching. Meow, 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 meow. And the guru shoot the cat. Shoot, get out, shoot, shoot. The disciples kicked the cat. Shoot. The cat went away and after a short while, the cat came back again. Meow, 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 meow. And the guru said, shoot, shoot. And the disciples kicked the cat. Shoot. The cat went away and after a few seconds, the cat came back again. Meow, meow, meow. The guru got so pissed, he said, catch that cat. So the disciples got up and they caught the cat. The guru said, tie the cat by the tail and hang it on the tree till I finish my teaching. So the disciples caught the cat, tied it by its tail and hung it on the tree until the guru finished the teaching. And for 1 hour while the guru was teaching, the cat was going meow, 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 and the guru continued to teach. And the guru said, listen, let it be a lesson for you on concentration. Ignore the cat and learn to listen to my voice and imbibe all that I'm teaching you. After the teaching, they let go the cat. The cat ran away. Whew. Next day the cat came back again. Meow, meow, meow. Guru said, catch the cat, hang it by the tail. And this went on every day. They'll catch the cat, hang it by the tail. The guru would teach for 1 hour. After they let go the cat, the next day the cat came back again. They tied it by the tail. After day after day after day, week after week, after month after month after month, finally the guru died. And the 10 disciples went to different parts of India and they got their own students and they said, this is what my guru taught me. Before I teach you, we need to get a cat and tie it by the tail and then I will start teaching. You know what has happened? You've forgotten the reason why you were doing what you're doing. You're doing stuff, but you've forgotten the reason why. An apprentice is one who learns. He imbibes the master. But in order for that to happen, you need to be first taught by the master. You need to have experienced the master. You need to have encountered the master. That's an apprentice. There are 5 principles that dictates whether you're a disciple. 5 things. 5 things show you if truly you're a disciple or you're not a disciple. Number 1, put Jesus above all things. A disciple is one who puts Jesus first, above everything else. Above father, mother, husband, wife, brother, sister. That's the first criteria of a disciple. If Jesus is number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, number 20, you're not a disciple. The first criteria, Jesus himself said, you cannot be my disciples if you don't love me above everything else. First, number 1, love Jesus above everything else. Number 2, follow Jesus' teaching. If you love me, you will do what I'm teaching you to do. You don't pick and choose. You follow the teaching of Jesus. Number 3, you bear fruit that will last. Your teachings has to bear fruit. Number 4, you love others unconditionally and sacrificially. You're ready to commit to love others. Number 5, and this is the big criteria of a disciple. A disciple makes disciple. You cannot be a disciple if you don't make disciples. So how do I know if you're a disciple? I check and see if you have disciples. If you have disciples, people are prepared to follow you. Just the same way Ray was ready to follow Luke because Luke followed Yoda. Is somebody prepared to follow you? You are making disciples. Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 20, the Great Commission. Go therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey all that I've commanded you. It's a great commission. You and I are supposed to make disciples. This is literally why Jesus emphasized the need to make disciples. Mark chapter 8, verse 34 to 35. Would you read it with me? Whoever wants to be my disciple must first take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. Whoever wants to be my disciple, specifically, must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. And this is the invitation to follow Jesus. To follow Jesus. With this in mind, how many percent of Catholics do you think are disciples of Jesus? Pope Francis, in his first homily, after he became Pope Francis, in the Sistine Chapel on 14th of March 2013, in his first homily, he said, we can walk as much as we want, we can build as many things, but if we don't confess Jesus Christ, we avail to nothing. We will become a charitable NGO. Not the church, not the bride of Christ. We will become a charitable NGO. When one does not profess Jesus Christ, I recall the phrase of Leon Bloy, whoever does not pray to God, by default prays to the devil. So if one does not profess Jesus Christ, one professes the worldliness of the devil, a demonic worldliness. So, it's either you follow Jesus or you don't. You're a disciple or you're not. When we walk without a cross, we build without a cross, when we profess Christ without a cross, we are not disciples of the Lord. We are worldly. We are bishops, priests, cardinal, popes, but we are not disciples. Jesus is not looking for position. He's looking for disciples. And this is why in Evangelii Gaudium, Pope Francis emphasized we are all missionary disciples. In 120 of Evangelii Gaudium, he says, by virtue of baptism, all the members of the people of God have become missionary disciples. All the baptized, whatever their position in the church, whatever their level of instructions, are all missionary disciples. And we cannot say that some are missionaries, some are disciples, but rather that we are all missionary disciples. And if we are not convinced, let us look at the first disciples who immediately after encountering the gaze of Jesus went forth to proclaim him joyfully, we have found the Messiah. The Samaritan woman became a missionary disciple. After speaking with Jesus, and many Samaritans came to believe in her because of the woman's testimony. So too Paul, after his encounter with Jesus Christ, immediately proclaimed Jesus. So what are we waiting for? Look to your right and left and ask the person, what are you waiting for? Pope Francis says there's an important aspect to become a missionary disciple. There are stages, yes, to become a missionary disciple. But the first aspect is what Jitin, I think, Jitin, is that his name? Jitin, spoke about this morning when he spoke about Jesus and Peter on the boat. You remember the story? Yes. Jitin was talking about Peter sitting on the boat and Peter trying to catch fish all night long and couldn't catch fish, and Jesus was just relaxing. And then you know the rest of the story. Master, we've worked all night long but caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets. And when they had done this, they caught so many fish that the nets were beginning to break. And then something happened. Verse 8 of Luke chapter 5, verse 8. When Peter saw it, he fell at Jesus' knees and says, "Go away from me, Lord, for I'm a sinful man." Peter just had an encounter with God. And the encounter with God changed his life. After the encounter, Jesus invites Peter to become a disciple. Jesus says, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be catching men. Come follow me. From now on, you'll be catching men." So you see, friends, the encounter precedes discipleship. So no encounter, no discipleship. When we started this afternoon, we asked you to ask questions about, we said we were 26 years, we left our jobs to do this. I was waiting for one particular question, but nobody asked that question. Very interesting question. Why did you do this? Nobody asked the question. Why did you leave your jobs to do this? It's the most crazy decision. Why did you do this? You never asked the question, but I'll tell you the answer anyway. Even though you didn't ask the question. The reason is because I had an encounter with Jesus. Okay? I don't have time to get into the story. I don't have much time, so I'm just going to briefly tell you the story very quickly. Okay? I'm born into a traditional Catholic family. Mommy and daddy are Catholics. But I'm the only child. I'm the only child in the family. Any only child here? No. No brother, no sister. Only child. Okay? No only child. So I'm the only child. Not only I'm the only child, but I was born asthmatic. You know what is asthma? That means I couldn't breathe. There's two types of asthma. One type of asthma, they give you a nebulizer and it helps you to breathe. It's another type of asthma, they have to give you an injection, intravenous, so that you begin to breathe again. I was the second type that needed injection. And because of this, my parents were very, very protective of me. They were made sure that I didn't go out and play. If I went out and played a little bit, I would get an asthma attack. They'd have to rush me to the doctor. There were so many dangers. And so my best friend was my father. He was the only one who would play with me, spend time with me. He was the only one who was there for me. I was very, very protected as a child. I grew up in a traditional Catholic family, so my mom and dad were very, very close to the parish priest. When it came time for my first Holy Communion, my father went to the parish priest and said, "Yeah, Father, never mind lah. You know me, I'm good Catholic, my wife good Catholic, my son Jude is a very good Catholic. Express Holy Communion, Father. No need too much catechism. Express." So I got my first Holy Communion, express. So I'm express Catholic. So I go to church, I sit down at the back, stand up, sit down, kneel down, stand up, sit down, kneel down, stand up, sit down, kneel down for 1 hour. After 1 hour, I go back home. Express Catholic. So not only express Catholic, I'm also automatic Catholic. Because I stand up, sit down, kneel down without any indication I can stand up, sit down, kneel down. I have no clue what happens in front, but I'm not even bothered what happens in front. Jesus, you stay in front, I stay at the back, I'm happy, you're happy, everybody is happy. Good Catholic. Everything was fine in my life till I was 15 years old. At 15, I went to school. My father went to work. He was 45 years old at that time. In the office, suddenly he has a heart attack. My mother calls the principal in school and says the principal to come and bring me home. So the principal comes to bring me home. Principal says, get your school bag, Jude, I'm driving you home. My principal never drives anybody home. Suddenly this guy was so good, he wanted to drive me home. So he drove me home, and on the way back home, he looks at me, he's driving the car and I'm sitting next to him, and he looks at me and he says, Jude, actually your mother called just now to say that your father has had a heart attack, he has died. I was shocked. I was 15 years old, I was shocked. I said, my father had a heart attack and died? It's impossible. There's something you need to know about my father. My father never smoked cigarette, never drank alcohol, never had history of cough, cold, flu, fever, no history of heart attack. For me, at 15 years old, to hear my father, 45 years old, had a heart attack and he's died, that was like earthquake to me. I tried to pray for the first time in my life, but I couldn't pray because I was automatic Catholic. Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be, our Father, Hail Mary, glory be, our Father. In the car, I was praying, our Father, Hail Mary, glory be. I didn't know how to tell God, please don't take my father. But as the car went into the house, sure enough, the ambulance had brought the dead body and left it in a living room in my house. My mother, who had sent her husband to work in the morning, now saw the husband coming back as a corpse, dead. I'm 15 years old. Suddenly I'm the man of the house, I've got to manage everything. So I said, okay, I won't cry, I will handle everything. So I did. I took care of the funeral, the undertaker, the cemetery, the burial, I took care of everything. My mother has a tradition that the coffin needs to be in the house for 2 days, and then the third morning is the funeral. So we kept the coffin in the living room of the house. And she sat next to the coffin all night long the first night, and she asked me to sit next to the coffin the second night. So I was sitting next to the coffin, I was looking at my father. In the coffin, my father looked as if he was sleeping. So it didn't make sense to me. What happened to this man? 45 years old, never smoked cigarette, never drank alcohol, suddenly get one heart attack and he's gone. Who's responsible? Definitely not me, definitely not my mother crying at the back, definitely not my father on the coffin. Who's responsible? I figured it must be God. We are good Catholics, we have a Bible in the house, except nobody ever opened the Bible. So I took the Bible in front of the coffin, I wiped the dust off the Bible, I opened the coffin, flick, 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 and I said, God, tell me why you took my father. I flicked and flicked. It was written in English but looked like Greek to me. I couldn't understand one word that was written here. 2 o'clock in the morning, I still remember, I threw the coffin to the wall and I shouted in front of the coffin.
Through the Bible.
Through the Bible. Yeah, not a coffin, Lord Jesus. I threw the Bible and I shouted in front of the coffin, I shouted, tell me why you took my father. God kept his mouth shut. The next morning, I buried my father, but I also buried God, church, religion, Catholicism. I buried everything. I said this whole thing about God is a load of crap. There is no God. 15 years old, I walked away from God, church, religion, Catholicism. I'll fast forward what happened in my life, 15, 16, 17, 18. 3 years after the death of my father was dead, my mother had gone into depression. I was only child, I was left to take care of myself. I got mixed up with the wrong company of friends in the city of Kuala Lumpur. I got involved with a group of people that were peddling the prostitutes in the city of Kuala Lumpur, in the red light area of my city. Using a knife, I would extort money from the customers of the prostitutes myself. I had used the services of the prostitutes. By the time I was 18 years old, I had already used the services of the prostitutes. I had done everything with the prostitutes. Except for drugs, I had done everything at 18 years old. And there was no God, no church, no religion, no Catholicism. There was a big gaping hole in my heart. I was angry, I was bitter. And the only thing at 18 that made sense for me at that point, I was frustrated, I was angry. The only thing that made sense was suicide. So I figured since I extort money with a knife, I'll also slash my wrist with a knife and I'll end my life. 18 years old, I was about to slash my wrist. So I still remember it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was sat in the living room of my house. My mother was asleep 2 rooms behind. And I closed all the curtains in the living room. I sat on the sofa and I prepared the knife on the living room hall table, and I was about to slash my wrist. Remember, no God, no church, no religion. And as I was about to slash my wrist, a thought came to my mind. Jude, give God another chance. I said, what? Jude, give God another chance. I said, what God? Where God? There is no God. What God to give another chance? Jude, give God another chance. What have you got to lose? It persisted for about 45 minutes. Jude, give God another chance. What have you got to lose? I was an arrogant 18-year-old boy. I said, if there is a God, if there is a God, show yourself to me now. Now, not tomorrow. Tomorrow they'll cut to finish it. Now show yourself to me. If there is a God, show yourself to me. The moment I said those words, remember, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, curtains closed, I was sitting on a sofa, back against the wall, nobody in the living room, my mother asleep 2 rooms behind. I felt somebody standing behind me and holding my right shoulder. But behind me was just a wall. Somebody was holding my right shoulder. And after this feeling of the shoulder, I heard a voice. This time not a voice in my head, an audible voice, as clearly as you hear my voice right now. And the voice said to me, Jude, it was I who took your father. From this day onwards, I will be your father, and I will change your life forever. For the first time in my life, even at the funeral of my father, I never cried. My heart was like stone. But for the first time in my life, I started to cry when I heard that voice. I felt water pouring over me, except it was not water, but just love, just pouring and pouring. Front, behind, left, right, pouring and pouring. I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And the more I cried, all the anger, the hatred, the pain, everything came out. And love just filled my heart. But it was not love from my mind. It was love here. 18 years old, he changed my life. I'm standing in front of you, not talking to you about a book I read. I'm not talking to you about a concept. I'm not talking to you about an ideology. I'm talking to you about a God I met. He changed my life. And there was nothing. I should be dead. I should be dead. That day, 18 years old, I should be dead. You know, I always have this vision. It's as if God put his hand into shit. I was inside that shit. He put his hand into the shit and he pulled me out. He never told me, Jude, you're full of shit. Go and wash yourself. Then come to me. No. He put his hand into the shit and he pulled me out. I should be dead, friends. Today, no matter who says what, nobody can tell me this is green. Why? Because I experienced it myself. It changed my life. I know. I'm not in front of you trying to buy your favor. I don't need your favor. I don't need to win you. I'm totally convinced of what I'm talking about. Whether you are convinced or not, I don't know. And I don't know whether you know. But you know what? Today I'm ready to die for this. I'm ready to die for this. Are you ready to die for this? Maybe not. Why? Maybe you're just going through some motions. So, you are more excited about television, about boyfriend, about money, about nice house, having kutti Malayalis. I don't know what. I don't know what turns you on. But listen. That's not what your life is about. That's not why you are alive. If that's why you are alive, then trust me, this is a dog's life. Let me tell you one more thing before I end. One more thing. December 23rd, just 2 months ago, yeah? 2 months ago. December 23rd, just 2-3 months ago, I had a heart attack. It's a long story, maybe she'll tell you later. I had a heart attack and I died. I died for 2 minutes. From 11:42 p.m. to 11:44 p.m. There's a medical record to show that I died. I died for 2 minutes. And in my death, I saw a tunnel. I was in a tunnel and I was going in a tunnel. And I remember at that point my daughters were crying and they were praying for me to come back. And I remember being pulled backwards from a tunnel, coming back to my body. So I'm not talking to you about some kind of concept. I know there is life. There is life after this life. And if anything is worthwhile for you, then it's worthwhile to invest in this. It's for this reason You know, we are both 56 years old. We left our jobs to do this. We don't have any monetary gain to gain from this. All the people I know who are 56 years old from Malaysia, who are our friends, they've got 2 houses, 2 cars, 2 dogs, 2 wives even. But we left everything to do this. Many people think we are stupid. But I tell you, we are the ones who are clever. We found the pearl of great price. When we sold the whole field to get that one pearl. Why? Because that's what counts. In the end, that's what counts. Why did you come to Australia? I don't know. But you're not here by accident. I was speaking to my friend here from Mumbai. He came to know Jesus Youth 1 year ago, right here in Australia. Guess what? If he didn't come to Australia, he would not have met Jesus Youth. If he had not met Jesus Youth, he wouldn't be here, and if he's not here, he wouldn't have heard this crazy preacher from Malaysia. You are not here by accident, friend. God brought you here, and he wants to shake your world. You're going to walk out after 4 days. You're going to be a totally new person. You're not here by accident. Just stand and pray. Close your eyes. Say this prayer after me. Lord Jesus,
Lord Jesus,
I want to encounter you.
I want to encounter you.
I don't want to talk from my mind.
I don't want to talk from my mind.
I want to talk from my heart.
I want to talk from my heart.
I want to have felt you,
I want to have felt you,
experienced you.
experienced you.
I want to follow you.
I want to follow you.
I want to become your disciple.
I want to become your disciple.
Lord Jesus,
Lord Jesus,
I choose today
I choose today
to follow you.
to follow you.
I choose today
I choose today
to be a disciple.
to be a disciple.
I ask you
I ask you
to touch every block in my life
to touch every block in my life
that is holding me back.
that is holding me back.
Set me free.
Set me free.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Would you be seated?